Hello and welcome to the Famous Matches of Magic channel. Today we present episode number 10 titled Third Time's the Charm. This is an extremely special episode as it's a match between two heavy hitters in Guillaume Wafo-Tapa and Jon Finkel. Two heavy hitters, two Pro Tour champions, two of some of the best Pro Tour Magic players who have ever played the game. This is an extremely interesting story as these two competitors have played 3 times within the same tournament.
Somebody that is so dominating that, you know, they're so far the best player that people go, oh my God, like this is the guy that defines that sport, you know. And I feel in Magic, you know, Magic's had 2 people that you could ever say really defined the sport. One of them is Jon Finkel.
Wafo-Tapa is having an amazing Pro Tour performance in Kuala Lumpur. His only 2 losses over the weekend are to this man, Jon Finkel. Not only that, Jon Finkel has been on a 4-year hiatus, and this is his triumphant return to the Pro Tour as he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Thus, he has been receiving automatic invites. However, don't count Wafo-Tapa out. He is in the Hall of Fame for a reason.
5 Pro Tour top 8s would ensue, almost always with Wafo-Tapa playing in an inexorable control deck of his own fiendish design.
Control players around the world are looking and say, oh, what is he going to play in this tournament? If I was Wafo-Tapa, what would I play?
He won Pro Tour Yokohama playing a deck built around mystical teachings.
I always find it interesting when a particular player and a particular card just get sort of connected to each other. Because when we make cards, I mean, we're just making cool things, we think we'll do neat things, and it's fun to watch someone sort of take ownership of it. You know, and mystical teaching like Wafo-Tapa really, like, they're associated with one another.
Now, Wafo-Tapa and Jon Finkel have been battling it out all weekend in Lower Block Booster Draft. Now let's take a look at the decks they drafted in top 8 when it's all on the line. First, let's take at the deck that Finkel drafted, which is a pretty close to mono-white, low-curve Kithkin deck with 4 Kinsbale Skirmishers, a Wizened Sen to pump up all of his Kithkin, 2 Kithkin Greats Hearts, 2 Sen's Heirs. He also has a couple of flyers with an Avian Changeling, a Kithkin Zephynaut, and a Kinsbale Balloonist. He has a light blue splash, most importantly for a Mulg Drifter, and a Distant Melody, which allows him to draw a card for each of his Kithkin. Preeminent Captain is pretty good in his deck in Near Bomb, as it can put soldiers onto the battlefield tapped and attacking when it attacks, which pretty much gives them haste. He is a little light on removal as he has 1 Disperse, 1 Coordinated Barrage, 1 Weight of Conscience, and 1 Gold Meadow Harrier, which can tap down his opponent's creatures, but that's it.
He was one of the first tournament organizers, and we ran tournaments in the New York area and the New Jersey area, and we would run $1,000 tournaments pretty much every weekend. Before each tournament, which the tournaments wouldn't start until noon, and from 9 to noon we would have a sealed deck tournament. And it was kind of like speed sealed deck. You had to beat as many people as possible, and then the winner would get a Juzam Gin. And every week we gave that Juzam Gin to this kid named Jon Finkel. It was just like, how is this happening? Somebody watch him build his deck. Somebody, you know, this is a sealed deck. People aren't good at limited. It wasn't even called limited back then, right? It was just like something to do for 3 hours before the tournament started. This can't be someone just winning every week. And so we kind of like off to the side and just kind of like, all right, check this kid out. And it's like, oh, dude, he's better than everybody else in the room. It was obvious from the way he carried himself, from the way he built his deck, and from the way he just demolished everybody he played, that this guy was just better than everyone else in the room, with maybe a handful of exceptions like Steve O'Mahony Schwartz and Zvi Moshowitz, and, you know, a couple of other guys who are also in the Hall of Fame with him.
Now let's take a look at what Wafo-Tapa is bringing to the party. He is also playing a blue-white deck, but he's not playing Kithkin. He is playing more of a Merfolk deck. His deck is a little bit of a higher curve as he has 2 Aether Snipes at the top end, which are extremely powerful as they can evoke and bounce a permanent, or they can be 4/4s that when they come into the battlefield also bounce a permanent. He has a bomb in Sig River Guide, which has Island Walk but can also protect his own creatures. He has a couple of counter spells with a Broken Ambitions and a Negate. He has a nice card in Stonybrook Schoolmaster, which when it untaps, it creates 1/1 creatures, which can be very powerful. He also has a lot of flyers in Plover Knights, in Dream Spoiler Witches, in Inspired Sprite, Fairy Harbinger, Dewdrop Spy. So he has lots of flyers to go over the top, which is a big weakness of Jon Finkel. Now that we took a look at the deck lists, let's find out if the third time is the charm and Wafo-Tapa can finally take down Jon Finkel, the Shadow Mage Infiltrator, who has been on a 4-year hiatus from the Pro Tour. There's no way that Wafo-Tapa could possibly lose to the same person 3 times in the same tournament. Or is there? Let's head down to the match and find out now. So Finkel is on the play and he comes out swinging with 2 1-drops. He has a turn 1 Gold Metal Harrier and turn 2 Mosquito Guard getting in there, while Wafo-Tapa doesn't even have a 2-drop. Wafo-Tapa really needs to get on the board, as now a Preeminent Captain is getting in there, where if Preeminent Captain gets to attack unanswered, it is going to be a short game. Let's see what Wafo-Tapa can get going here.
What are we talking?
Oh, there's the Distant Melody.
Yeah, Distant Melody. So that nets him, is that 3 cards?
Looks like it.
1, 2, 3. That's the sound you love. The sound of cards off the top of your library and into your hand.
Certainly the sound that John loves. And as I said before this weekend, that man is a man who loves drawing cards, even in this limited format where the conventional wisdom was to be aggressive. This game not working out so well for him so far in being aggressive, but he's got the edge on life.
There's a swamp. Guillaume's just got a little bit of black. He makes Stony Brook.
Try to double guess or second guess these pros, but the reality...
Gate, which he was unsure whether he was actually going to play, so we'll have to check that.
Wafo-Tapa floods out game 1 as Finkel is getting in there with everything. Kinsbell Skirmisher pumping up his team. But Wafo-Tapa is not one to give up. Wafo-Tapa can still win this. It's best 3 out of 5. Wafo-Tapa, you can do it. On to game number 2.
One of the Pro Tours in the Time Spiral block where he got hit with an Extirpate, which is a split-second spell, and he just, the spell was cast, and he just threw his hand down on the table. It was, normally he is, you know, so cerebral and taking his time and everything, but he just knew, I can't do anything here. Just split-second spell, I can do nothing. And it just showed like a level of understanding how all of the cards are going to work and where he should be putting his energy. You take that and you play it out over a career, and it's just been fantastic for him.
On to game number 2, where Wafo-Tapa will be on the play, which will hopefully give him the advantage.
Play shuffle. It's kind of got there now.
Yeah, many years ago there were different rules about shuffling, and I'll recall one Pro Tour with, I believe it was Terry Bohr, shuffled for over an hour for a game simply to get into the head of his opponent.
Oh my good lord. Alright, so we are underway in game 2 of a maximum of 5. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa is the beatdown in game 2.
Getting the Silver Gill Dowser right in there.
Absolutely. That's not what Silver Gill Dowser does.
Yeah.
It sits there and does things in your opponent's turn.
John had to start on a mulligan and has not hit the lands he wants to see. He's got 3 islands on the board. Going to evoke the Mole Drifter to try to get in the game. When you're this far behind with the beatdown deck, it's kind of scary to think about how this game's going to end if you're Jon Finkel. However,
Finkel finally hits a plains here and drops a Kithkin Zephyronaut. Wafo-Tapa plays a Dewdrop Spy there, but Finkel's finally able to ploy his white threats, and he gets his Preeminent Captain and a Sen's Heir in play.
Looter ability, Merfolk Looter from the past 7. That Zephyrnaut is clearly a threat. Wafo-Tapa decided archetypes that we don't really have here is like in the... and then I'm going to pile into the red zone. Here we go.
Trigger him, and I'll trigger him.
So, just explaining what's going on, and...
That preeminent captain getting to attack is huge as he gets to put that Kinsbell skirmisher into play, giving his Zephyrnaut +1/+1. It also gives his Sen's Heir an additional +1/+1.
Silver Gildowser is such a, when I say it's a miserable card, I don't mean that in a bad way, but my lord, it's a card that when you play against it, you think, I'm going to be here till Christmas.
There's that backbreaking coordinated barrage. We talked about that, and it's just going to be...
Man, with the plan, it's...
Wafo-Tapa went for a double block there, but Jon Finkel coordinated barrage one of the creatures, making the other block just a chump block, so none of Finkel's creatures died. But then Finkel went for a distant melody, which would have let him draw 6 cards, and that was enough to force Wafo-Tapa to just concede. Too much for him.
I think Jon's the best of all time. A lot of people debate whether it's him or whether it's Kai. But I think Jon is the most talented, and I think Kai, who was also great, his success came because he worked really hard, for what it seemed. He practiced, but he never really did anything when I watched that impressed me. He just didn't make mistakes. He just played flawlessly. But Jon can not play and still just be better than everyone in the room. I mean, he just is naturally just blessed at being really good at it. And frequently you'll see Jon do things that you may not even understand, and all of a sudden you'll be watching and it'll come together and you're like, wow, this guy is just thinking miles ahead of everyone else of how to play this game and how his turns are going to develop. So I think he's just the best there is. I mean, it just comes natural to him, it seems.
I personally believe he is the best natural player to ever play the game of Magic. Just watching him play, he's thinking on so many levels and so far ahead, you don't understand what he's doing half the time, and then 10 turns later, oh, that's what he was doing, He saw that 10 turns ago. I didn't see it, but he did.
Can Wafo-Tapa pull it out and win 3 games in a row? Let's find out.
Well, he played a couple of hours, and he said, well, it depends how close we are to an event, but generally we might finish around, 12 or 1. Okay, that appears to be 10 hours Magic.
Yep.
So, how often would you do that? And he said, well, 6, maybe 7 days a week. I'm like, okay, this kind of explains why you're there and I'm here.
Yep.
So, fair play to him. But that really does mean he will know what he's up against. His Finkel with Wizen Sen out turn 2. The Dowser's down for Wafo-Tapa. Turn 4. Draws a card. Again, very solid. Another player who's just gone off to...
He'll clash to see if he gets to buy it back.
Okay, so there's the 20 basic land that they come in pairs. So you have these sort of mural effects as it goes from swamp to island, from plains to forest. And that's just an exquisite idea.
Yeah, it's tough to tell for certain, but he might not have another land in his hand despite drawing that extra card.
Yeah,
that threshold, and everything's going to come out, and it's not going to go well for
Wafo-Tapa. Although that is nice because there's Weight of Conscience, and that does mean, and here we go, so this is what we said, we needed a place for him to be able to tap the Stony Brook Schoolmaster. He does that.
A good start for Wafo-Tapa. He's able to play the Weight of Conscience on the Wizen Sen and then tap down his Stony Brook Schoolmaster, creating a Merfolk token. This is a great start, the best start he's had. Maybe he can get something going here.
Think about 20. And
speak of the devil, Scott Johns from the feature match area. Mario Pascoli up 2-0.
Changeling Berserker coming smash. That's a real...
Whoops.
Coordinated
keep the token. John's got the coordinated barrage, but it looks like we got a counter for it.
Counter target non-creature spell.
Counters the coordinated barrage, so he's able to keep all of the Merfolk tokens coming. Maybe we can get something going here.
Yes. Disgraceful.
Micron were my 2 Dark Horse candidates, and they're sitting here playing in the top 8, so that's pretty exciting for me.
just to let you know what's going to be coming. Remember, there are not many deck building teams that can compete with Wafo-Tapa. I think, Nassif, Shape, and Herberholtz would be 3 names that would spring to mind.
Sure.
Obviously, the Japanese
Made a pretty tight play there. He dropped the Fairy Harbinger as a blocker to deal with some of the flyers, but unfortunately, because of the position he's in, not able to utilize the search function simply because it would prevent him from drawing the land he so desperately needs to find.
Yeah, apart from anything else, we know that there's Ether Snipe in his hand. He's got a single island in play. He can't even evoke out that if he felt the need to. So he is really looking for land. We'll have an island, please, Bob. No, we won't. We'll have a spell.
Sends air because things can just get out of hand here really quickly.
Okay, so research the deep, and he does need some deep research. Flash. Oh, and that is Stream of Unconsciousness. He's like...
Wafo-Tapa's hand is full of spells, but his life total is getting very low. It is not looking so great for him. Can he pull this out?
Sends Air comes in. Presumably Finkel will give the Sends Air flying.
Yep.
There we go. I'm taking these 2.
Yep.
So at this point, we've got Stream of Unconsciousness from 3 p.m.
And it sounds like from the floor,
draws a card.
sounds like from the floor we're getting our first result of a finished match. Looks like Mario Pascoli is going to take it 3-0 over Mike Fran on the back of Chandra Nalar.
So that is the first of our 4 Pro Tour winners gone from the top
Block.
There's
a 6th land for that Aether Snipe. That's going to be big at helping him get back into things.
If Finkel can hit the kingship on his Zephyronaut, then Wafo-Tapa is dead, but Finkel misses, so Wafo-Tapa lives another day.
Another land for Jon Finkel. Boy, he must be getting tired of drawing
those. Kinship whiff. Oh, wow. But I mean, is there any way back for Wafo-Tapa from here? Can you construct a series of plays for us where there's hope for the Frenchman?
Absolutely. I think he's starting to stabilize here if he manages to enough mana. Do a quick check here. Looks like he would have enough mana to play both the Swamp and then the Plover Knights and the Dewdrop Spy on Jon's turn.
Wafo-Tapa is putting on the pressure, getting in for a lot of damage. He may be able to pull this unlikely game out in force of game 4.
To be attacked with. Is he scared of Surge of Fort Weft? He can't sensibly let everything through.
No. He's put Jon in a position where Jon has to block, can't just sit back and do nothing, and that's what Jon's going to have to do. It's an important note to make with these pros. Just because they're losing doesn't mean they're not trying to win. So even though Guillaume's got a worse board position, his life total's lower, and he hasn't answered all of the threats that are facing him, he's going to still try to keep getting in there and causing problems for his opponent, and that could potentially put Jon in a point where he's on the back foot and all of a sudden switch the game. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this turn. It looks like Guillaume's going to lose a bunch of his tokens in the Schoolmaster. 9 damage is going to get through, putting Finkel at a precarious 5. But it's all about whether or not he can hit on that, whether he can hit on the kinship, and/or find a way to push through the last couple damages through 2 potential blockers from Wafo-Tapa.
Absolutely. And if you're Finkel, for all your skill, you're thinking, I would just like a little bit of luck round about now. Never mind all this basic land, pretty or not, murals or not. Let's just see a thing with a creature type. Does he look like he's 2 points away from death?
Oh, he's got the bounce spell.
Ouch, the disperse, bounce the flyer. That is all she wrote. Finkel is able to defeat Wafo-Tapa 3 times in the Pro Tour. Only 3 losses in this Pro Tour for Wafo-Tapa are to Jon Finkel, and that is all she wrote. Finkel comes back to the Pro Tour after a 4-year hiatus to win the entire tournament. Only Finkel can do that.
It's like, oh, Jon's the player of the year. Oh, Jon won Worlds, or oh, Jon won this, or Jon's the national champion.